The soul of Persia. A timeless journey into Persian music. Produced by Behnam Khodarahmi. Episode 1. So, where does this music even come from? Right. Let's start with a question. When you hear the words classical music, what comes to mind? Probably a concert hall somewhere in Europe. Violins, a man in a tailcoat waving a stick. Mozart, maybe. Beethoven. That's one kind of classical music. A beautiful one, but it's not the only one. There's another classical tradition. Older, much older, and it comes from a part of the world you might not immediately think of. Persia, what we call Iran today. And that's what we're going to talk about. Not just today, but over the next 9 episodes. We're going to take a slow, gentle walk through one of the oldest musical traditions on Earth. And I promise you, by the end, you will hear it differently. You'll feel it differently. But first, we need to go back, way back. Imagine, for a moment, that you're standing in a great hall, stone columns, torches on the walls. It's roughly 2,500 years ago. You're in the heart of the Persian Empire, the empire of Cyrus, of Darius, of Xerxes. The biggest empire the world had ever seen at that point. And somewhere in that hall, there's music playing. We don't know exactly what it sounded like. We can't. No recordings, obviously. No written notation either. Not the way we'd recognize it. But we know it was there. We know musicians had a place in the court. We know instruments were being played, because the evidence is carved into stone. If you ever go to Iran, and I hope one day you do, there's a place called Taq-e Bostan. It's in the west of the country. And carved into the rock there, you can see images from around the time of the Sasanian kings. That's roughly the 3rd to 7th century. And in those carvings, you can see musicians, harps, long-necked lutes, flutes, people playing, people listening. So this music has been around for a long, long time, longer than most things we still have on this planet. Now, in the Sasanian period, that's the last great Persian Empire before the Arab conquest, music had a very special place at court. The kings loved it. They kept musicians the way other kings kept poets or scholars. And from this era, 2 names have come down to us. 2 musicians whose stories are still told, 1,500 years later. The first was called Barbad, the second, Nakisa. Now, I have to be honest with you here. A lot of what we know about Barbad and Nakisa comes from stories, from poems written centuries after they lived. So we should be careful. Some of it is probably true, some of it is probably legend. That's how it goes with anyone famous from that long ago. But the stories are lovely. So let me tell you one. Barbad served at the court of a king called Khosrow II. Khosrow had a favorite horse. The horse was called Shabdiz, which means black as night. And one day, Shabdiz died. The king loved this horse so much that he announced, "Anyone who tells me Shabdiz is dead, I'll have them killed." So everyone was terrified. No one wanted to be the messenger. So the courtiers went to Barbad. And they said, "You're the musician. You're clever. Find a way to tell him." And Barbad, the story goes, sat down with his instrument. And he played a song. Just a song. No words, just music. And the music was so sad, so full of grief, that the king listened. And he said, Shabdiz is dead, isn't he? And Barbad said yes. And no one had to die. That's the story. Whether it's true or not, I'll leave to you. But here's the thing. Even 1500 years ago, people in Persia believed music could do that, could carry a feeling so completely that words weren't needed. And that idea, that music is a language of feeling, not just sound, that idea is still at the heart of Persian classical music today. We'll come back to it again and again in this series. Now, the Sasanian Empire didn't last forever. No empire does. In the 7th century, the Arab armies came, and everything changed. A new religion arrived, a new language for science and writing, a new kind of world. And you might think, well, that's the end of the story then. Persian music must have died. But it didn't. That's the surprising thing. It didn't die at all. It changed. It went underground in some ways. It transformed. It survived. How it survived and what it became, that's the story of our next episode. Before we finish today, I want to leave you with something. I want you to listen to a piece of music, just a short one. It's played on an instrument called the tar. We'll talk properly about the tar in a few episodes' time. For now, just know it's a stringed instrument. You pluck it. It has a warm, slightly metallic sound, a bit like a voice. I'd like you to listen with no expectations. Don't try to understand it. Don't try to compare it to anything. Just let it be there for a minute or two. And as you listen, maybe think about this. The musical language you're hearing, the way the notes bend, the way they hang in the air, the way one melody flows into another. That language has roots going back to Barbad, to those stone carvings at Taq-e Bostan, to kings who sat in great halls 2,000 years ago, listening to something that moved them. You're plugging into something very old and very alive. Wow, that was a nice moment. But I think we'll leave it here for today. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time.